Hello everyone, hi guys, I'm Oxana Dubrovina and today I have an opportunity to meet such a great investor, one of the best investors of our time, great Charlie Manga follower. It's Mohnish Pabrai, welcome.
Well, Oksana, it's a pleasure, and it was nice to know that you're in Houston, and I'm in Austin, and it's great to meet in Texas. So and I just moved here, and I love the place.
You really love it to be
Yeah,
here in
yeah,
Texas?
yeah, it's great.
It's cold, but it's great.
Yeah.
But do you want to introduce yourself? I would like to know about your background, about your family, about where you come from.
Well, I was born in Mumbai, and I spent my childhood 10 years in Mumbai, 6 years in Delhi, and then 2 or 3 years in Dubai. And then I came to the US to study, and I've been in the US for it's going to be 40 years in 1 month.
What about your parents, Mohnish? Do you want to tell us more about your mama and papa?
Sure. My parents have passed away, and I think for most people, the parents are their main role models, primary role models, and with me it is no different. I think I was very blessed to have the parents I had. I think they were just wonderful, and I learned many things from observing them, as opposed to things that they were telling me. And I think when I observed both my mom and my dad, one of the things I learned was that almost nothing rattled them. So they went through a lot of financial turmoil, they went through bankruptcy, sometimes there's no money for rent, there's no money for groceries, but I never saw them get rattled. They were confident that good days would come. And so they took a lot of things in stride, and I learned a lot from observing that. And so it was great. I mean, I think that they were very loving and wonderful to me and my siblings, and I wish they were around, and especially my dad. My dad passed away in '97, and I had just started to learn about Buffett and Munger for 2 or 3 years. I really hadn't had a lot of time to talk to him about it. I think that was a framework that he didn't have, and I think if he had that framework, his life trajectory would have been quite different. So I wish I had a few more years to talk to him about it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And how do you, when you first read about Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, do you have a special feeling? Like, what was your feeling, or what was your?
Well, I
thoughts
mean,
on that moment?
I think the when I first heard about Warren Buffett, I didn't know anything about the investment business.
Oh, really?
And I didn't know anything about investing.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know there's like a hedge fund industry. All I knew was that there are stocks. I knew that there are stocks, and I knew that there are mutual funds. And when I read about Buffett, what really surprised me was there were 2 or 3 big epiphanies when I read about him. The first thing that became clear when I read about him, and I was very lucky when I heard about him in '94, the first 2 or 3 biographies on him had come out. And it was possible to see all the Berkshire letters and all of that. So I'd written to him in Omaha, and then they had sent bound copies of the letters. And so that was really a great timing. If I heard about him 5 years ago, there wouldn't have been much in the public domain. And what struck me was that Buffett had put down what I would call the laws of investing. he and his teacher Ben Graham had codified these, and I felt like the laws of investing were like the laws of physics.
Yes.
So they only work one way.
Mental models, right?
So yeah, so whether you believe in gravity or not, it is going to affect you. It's going to affect you. Yeah, and so basically what I found is that I understood these laws of investing, but then what puzzled me was that in the mutual fund industry, they didn't follow these laws. So for example, the first law Buffett says is that you make few investments, few bets. Okay, because it's difficult to find mispriced bargains. But the typical mutual fund will have hundreds of stocks. Okay? The second is that you need to hold these positions for multi-year periods, right? Because it takes a while for value to be realized.
Yes.
And mutual funds had 100% annual turnover. So they were owning 100, 200 stocks, and they were buying and selling 100, 200 stocks every year. So it was, so basically it was, to me, I said, okay, there's only one way gravity works.
Yes.
There's only one way investing works.
Yes.
And most of the professional practitioners don't seem to follow it. Okay? And they don't seem to follow it, and their results reflect it. Right? So the mutual fund industry basically, by and large, because of the fees, 80+%, 90% lag the market. And so I had an idea that if somebody followed the laws of investing, as Buffett and Graham and Munger had put them down, they would be able to do better than a lot of the professionals. Okay, because the professionals are not following it. But this was a hypothesis. So the hypothesis doesn't really mean anything. So I said, I should really try to put real money behind it.
Of course.
And see what happens. And so I was lucky. At that time, I had sold a portion of my business. After taxes, I had $1 million.
What kind of business you have had? You were in engineering?
It was IT
exactly.
consulting.
So I read in your book,
Yeah, system integration, IT consulting.
It's a great business to be in.
Well, I mean, it's a decent business in the sense that you do have recurring revenues, which is great, but you don't have intellectual property. So, we were a service provider to IT departments in different large companies, and so I had $1 million in my account for the first time in my life, and I really didn't have any need for that money. So I said, okay, I can take this million, I can apply Buffett's approach, and I want to see what the results are.
Have you been ever regretting to do that decision, Mohnish?
No, I have never regretted the decision.
So it pays a huge dividend, as far as I understand, right?
Yeah, I mean, so and it worked. I think it worked really well.
Oh yeah.
And then that led to, in a few years, the formation of Pabrai funds.
Right.
And then I left the IT business and went from there.
Yeah.
So I think reading about Buffett, learning about him, was a kind of turning point in my life.
So he's your role model.
Yeah, I found that, I think that we as humans like to try on different gloves. And I found with Buffett, I mean, no two humans are the same.
No.
But I found with Buffett, a lot of his interests just coincidentally mirrored my interests. Like, probably, I would say, at least 8 years before I heard of him, I started playing bridge.
Oh, really?
Right? And I didn't know Warren Buffett at the time, and I loved bridge. Bridge was really awesome. And I still love it. It's an incredible, wonderful game. And so I found that he likes investing, he likes bridge. I also don't like to spend a lot of time with people, so I get drained when I'm with people.
I get it. Yeah.
So I'm happy if I'm playing bridge. I'm happy if I'm reading a book.
So your brain working that way, you
Yeah.
concentrate on something
Yeah.
useful instead of wasting time on somebody which is not your priority.
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's fun to meet some humans
Yes.
sometimes, but
Sometimes.
I don't think it's
You
a
don't
lot
have
of fun to meet
I get it.
humans all the time. So I like human interaction in small doses with a few humans.
Exactly. Why do you think that Charlie Munger get his trust and deserve partnership for Warren Buffett? Why do you think he was really been able to accept Charlie as his only business partner through the years? Why do you think it's happened?
Well, I mean, I think Charlie is a very unusual human being. In my opinion, he is much smarter than Warren. I would say that there is a huge difference in the two of them. It's okay.
It's okay.
We have to say the truth.
We do have to say the truth.
Yeah,
Right?
and
Yes.
hopefully Warren will not see this. He's busy.
You will see. I
He will
check
not
out the
see it.
group. A lot of managers from Berkshire is watching.
He's too busy, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I find that Warren
Yeah.
is very narrowly focused. He has a very deep interest in investing. Charlie has a deep interest too, but he has broader interests, right? Like he loves to design catamarans. He loves to design student dorms.
Yeah.
He loves architecture. He has a range of interests, and Warren is much narrower. Charlie enjoys fishing a lot, for example.
Fishing is great, right? What?
Warren will never go fishing. He went fishing once with Charlie and with Gurun, and he almost drowned.
I know this.
And that was the end of.
That's the last time when Warren Buffett did something like that, right?
And the other thing I think Charlie was telling me is that for Warren, it is really important that the activities that he focuses on are ones that he is good at. So he said that as Warren aged,
Yeah.
his golf game deteriorated,
Yeah.
and he gave up golf. Okay, he doesn't play
No,
golf
so really,
anymore,
of course
right?
not.
But for example, bridge, you don't have deterioration till your brain deteriorates,
Yeah.
right? And so he's kept bridge going because he's continuing to get better. But he gave up golf, right? And so, and Charlie, for example, also enjoys bridge but has no desire to improve on it. And actually, what I found funny when I was playing bridge with Charlie is he doesn't even want to learn like the basic conventions.
Right.
Like I was trying to talk to Charlie about transfers, which is very kind of bridge
No
101.
way, right?
He doesn't do
He
transfers.
just keep what he doesn't like to
Yeah,
have.
and whereas Warren, for example,
Right.
has very advanced bridge skills, plays with a world champion, and one time I was playing bridge with Warren and trying to understand his conventions, and it takes a while to understand that, but we did okay. We actually did really well against our opponents. So
It belongs to the circle of competence, right? If you take as mental models to think through, do you have in particular some favorite mental models that you use it as a checklist for your decision making? Are there some of your favorites, or how you?
Well, I
use
think one of my I would say one of the mental models that has helped me the most in life is to be a clone.
Yeah.
Okay, and basically I think that I still haven't figured out. I've been doing cloning for like more than 30 years. I still haven't figured out. Humans have some aversion to cloning. Most humans look down on cloning.
Why?
They think it's kind of like copying or cheating. It's beneath them.
That's great.
No, but what I'm saying is, so there are probably maybe 1% or 2% of humans who embrace cloning very strongly.
Yes.
And probably 98, 99% just don't care about it,
That's
or they brush it aside. So, for example, if you focus on being an intense cloner, then you become like Sam Walton. So Sam Walton, for example, for the first 10, 15 years of Walmart, maybe 20 years Walmart, early history, they had no innovations. He spent an incredible amount in his competitor stores, and everything about Walmart was lifted. It was lifted from Sears, from Kmart, and all these other companies. Bill Gates, almost all the Microsoft products were either stolen illegally, okay, or they cloned it legally,
Yes.
but they didn't. When Microsoft
Yeah.
has tried to innovate, they have fallen flat. And when they have tried to clone, they have done well. So their cloning hit rate has been very high. And recently I was reading Sol Price's biography. It was written by his son.
Mm-hmm.
Sol Price is the founder of Price Club, which later merged with Costco.
All right.
And the Costco,
Jim Senegal, right?
yeah. So Costco's business model came from Price Club. And Jim Senegal used to work for Sol Price. So Jim Senegal was asked one time, "What did you learn from Sol Price?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, "It's the wrong question." He said, "Everything I know is from Sol Price."
Stand on the shoulder.
So he said, "It's not like I learned this from Sol Price or that from Sol Price." Costco just took the Sol Price model, and from then till now, they have not changed.
And I think that Jeff Bezos is using effectively the system which is already existing from Costco, right?
Well,
there's a lot of what he's implementing in his strategy.
I mean, I think Amazon
Jeff is a great guy.
Amazon is a little bit different. I think Amazon is a very innovative company,
It's a brand
and they've actually done many things which are brand new and different. It's a different DNA than Costco.
But it's still a lot of models implemented when you read his ideas.
Yeah. No, I think Amazon learned a lot from Walmart.
From Walmart.
Right. They actually visited Bentonville, Jeff's team very early, when they were very early in the book business. They visited Walmart and they tried to learn from them. But I think that I don't think of Amazon as a cloner. I think of Amazon as a spawner and an incredible innovator.
I think both branding and technology, I will not put it on one direction or another, so it's both. That makes him so successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think Amazon is one of the most amazing businesses ever created.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So if you back to mental models thinking, there's a lot of guys trying to figure out what mental models, what they're used for, and what do you think about? What are your, do you like some more like typical margin of safety is one of the...
Yeah, so I would say that some of the mental models which come from Ben Graham, right?
Yeah.
Those are very fundamental. Like it's not a stock, it's a business, and that you're not buying a piece of paper, you're buying a fractional ownership of a business. That's a very fundamental way to look at it. And when you make an investment, let's say there's a company with a $20 billion market, right? The question you should ask yourself is that if my family had $50 billion, would I put 40% into this company? 40%. Would you be willing to put 40%? And if the answer is no, then you should not even buy one share. Okay? So basically the framework should be as if you're buying the whole business, right? The second is the margin of safety, right? You understand what a business is worth and you're buying it well below. But in some ways, I think Graham led us astray. So there are some models that Graham had, which I think have done more harm than good. And part of that is because, Graham's framework came out of the Great Depression. And stocks had really become hammered at that time, 1929 to 32, and then 38. So he was looking for a bulletproof way.
But it would be always like that.
But the thing is that I think the area where I felt I was led astray by Graham is the model was always to buy with a significant margin of safety, which is great.
Yes.
But then to sell when the stock approached intrinsic value.
Yes.
And the correct model actually is that you find yourself in the happy position of owning a great business, then you should not worry too much about the intrinsic value.
Yeah.
Now, if it gets egregiously overpriced, okay, you can sell it. But if something like Costco, is at 40 times earnings, or even 50 times earnings, don't sell it.
So when there is
and that lesson
Yeah.
That lesson took me
Yeah.
more than 25 years to learn.
To get it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's a
and
long
so I
time.
think Graham
Yeah.
led many of us astray on that front,
Yeah.
and I think overdosing more on Munger
Yeah.
and to some extent Buffett is helpful on that front. And the funny thing about Ben Graham is that he made most of his money by owning a great business, not by buying cheap stocks, right? So most of his money came from Geico, and he bought Geico cheap. But the reason he made money in Geico was because of a great business, not because it was 30 cents and went to $1. It's because the dollar became $10. That's why he.
I think that Warren Buffett laughed when insurance started with Geico, right? Because
Yeah, actually, when we met him for lunch, my younger daughter asked him which is his favorite business, and he did not hesitate. He said Geico. Yeah.
It's a circle of confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether now, I think if you ask him now which is his favorite business, he might say Burlington Northern.
Why do you think so?
Because I think the Burlington Northern is a business that will be here 200 years from now.
Why?
Because they have rights of way. So even if the method of transporting goods changes to magnetic rail or some other format, they have the right of way. So the connection to the LA port, there will never be a second connection there.
Underground, Elon Musk is already trying to experience this in LA.
Yeah, but the thing is that you can't do that for like 18,000 miles of track. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not that the rails exist. The rail technology may change, but they have the right of ways.
Yes, absolutely.
And 50 years, 100 years, so something like Geico could get disrupted.
Of course, everything can be disrupted.
But I would just say that if you look at the durability, I would be willing to bet that 100 years from now, the Burlington Northern is much more valuable than today. 200 years from now, it's much more valuable.
Coca-Cola, Gillette
and I would say Coca-Cola is an incredibly valuable franchise, and that will be there maybe 100, 200 years from now at all as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the Burlington Northern is just in a different category.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it, how you buy the businesses, but I still don't understand how you sell. When it comes to the selling point, it's a very tricky question.
I have historically been useless at selling.
How do you make that decision?
Part of the reason I've been useless at selling is because I overdosed on Graham. So Ben Graham said you sell at intrinsic value.
No, I cannot.
This is the guru saying that.
That doesn't matter.
And it took me 25 years to understand not to do that.
Not to do that.
So
of course.
If I met Oxana 10 years ago, maybe you could have educated me.
No, but how you can sell these beauties?
Well, the thing is that we have a framework, and the framework is, in my opinion, wrong. As they say, we are old too soon and wise too late. So I only have 22 years and 2 months left on planet Earth.
What do you think, sir?
22 years and 2 months. So I only have 22 years and 2 months to implement now the concept of not selling at intrinsic value.
Never sell something, they were beautiful things. Never sell that.
It's so simple, but I couldn't understand that.
But it's actually a very interesting question because what I read recently, because I sometimes make research in our group and looking forward from time to time to looking what you are doing, and I see Alibaba, you bought it, and I was, oh yeah, Alibaba, it's interesting company, it's tricky, and Lilo bought it, and Charlie put it, and then I see like 4 or 5 months, and Mr. Pabrai sold it, and I said,
well, I think the Alibaba sale is driven by tax loss selling. There's 2 reasons.
Okay.
One is that after I made the Alibaba investment, I got to know 10 cents better, and I believe that it's a superior business model, a superior company.
Yes.
And so we were able to kill two birds with one stone. I could move from Alibaba to Tencent.
Okay.
I capture the tax loss, which is efficient from a tax point of view, and I believe I end up in a better business. And so that was the motivation. So everything is opportunity cost. Right. And so there are many businesses that Alibaba has that I do not like. I hate retail. They have retail businesses.
Do they?
I hate that.
Okay.
You know, the Fresh Depot and these businesses may do very well, but I don't like retail as a business. And so, and Tencent in the capital allocation runs circles around Alibaba.
Yeah.
So I think they are much better capital allocators. Yeah. So, but we will see. At the end of the day, I think the market will deliver a verdict to us in 5, 10, 15 years of whether that was the right bet or not.
But it's everything is back to the mental models, opportunity cost, right? You take the cash out and you probably put it in something much more useful.
Yeah.
And you put it in the
But the important thing
Yeah.
is to be really good at watching paint dry.
What do you mean?
You know, like if this wall gets painted,
Yeah.
white color,
Yes.
for example,
Yes.
just sit here and watch it dry. Don't buy and sell stocks. Don't do anything. If you're a person who is happy to watch paint dry,
Of course.
then this is a great business for you. If you are unhappy to sit in a room and do nothing, then it's not a good
I
business.
just love to sit in a beautiful room and watch everything. I love it. Why should you make different?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yes. So, do you like to speak about American stocks? Do you particularly like something right now? Or like maybe without naming the names.
Well,
This particular sectors, what you
we only have one US stock in our portfolio.
Do you? Only one?
Micron.
Okay.
And so clearly, I think that what I find in the US is there's many amazing businesses,
Okay.
but they are not at bargain basement prices. So at the end of the day, we are bargain hunters.
So it's expensive.
Yeah. So I think well, it's not. I mean, I would say a business at 50 times earnings could be cheap.
Alright.
A business at 10 times earnings could be expensive.
Yeah.
But at least in my way of looking at it, I cannot find obvious cheap bargains of businesses that I can understand very much in the US. I find that a market like Turkey is amazing because everyone and their brother has left Turkey. Everyone exited. The currency is unstable. The inflation is running 50% a year. But I think we made some very fine investments in Turkey, and I think we will do very well with them.
That's great. That's important.
Yeah.
So
I just spent 3 weeks in Istanbul,
Yeah.
and I thought it was awesome.
So you love the businesses, people who are running the businesses.
I love the blue fish grilled and eating it on the banks of the Bosphorus. And then I also like that before I eat the blue fish, I go and meet these companies that are trading at such ridiculous multiples.
Yeah, then a trust as a mental model, because Charlie Munger's mental models are foundation on trust, right?
Yes.
And there is a psychological mistakes which are coming from this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to
So you get,
make sure that the businesses you invest in, you have figured out the people.
Alright.
But you also have to keep in mind that, you know, John Templeton said that 1 out of 3 times the best analysts will be wrong. I think that for someone like me,
Yes.
I may be wrong half the time because I'm not the best, right? I mean, I'm like Joe Public. So
You are the best.
so no, and so the thing is that, but the amazing thing about this business is a 50% error rate will allow you to beat the market.
So it's your motto, right? Heads, I win. Tails, I don't win.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that even
Yeah.
if, for example, our bet on Tencent, which we made through process,
Yes.
let's say we are wrong on that. Okay, let's say it doesn't work for whatever reason.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the portfolio won't do well. Okay, uh, we have. I was looking at it. We have like eight bets that are of consequence in our portfolio. Eight investments. Probably the top three are more than half the portfolio.
Wow.
Right? Maybe 50,
Wow.
60%.
That's great.
All out of these eight, even if you were wrong on 3 or 4 of them, it would still work.
Is that weird?
Yeah. So that's the amazing
Yeah.
thing about, like, I mean, if you are a brain surgeon,
Uh-huh.
you cannot have a 50% error.
No.
Okay, you cannot even have a 10% error, right? And so the beauty of the investing business is it's very forgiving. And the second is that every time you make a mistake, and there will be a lot of mistakes, you get a chance to learn and get better. And so the feedback loop of seeing mistakes, hopefully seeing other people make mistakes because those are cheaper than your own mistakes, and learning from those can be really good.
But we have to make mistakes, basically. Where faults, you learn from that, and you move to something
Like
more productive.
Teddy Roosevelt said,
Yeah.
man in the arena. You know, the man in the arena is bloodied and such, but he's in the arena.
Yeah.
And he's learning. And so basically, it's the man in the arena. So it's going to get messy.
Yeah.
It will not look pretty all the time.
No.
And that's okay.
Nobody guarantees you in life. Look, we have so many adversities right now. And
Yeah.
people, if you react with all of these passions and emotional to this kind of thing, you get down. You basically get screwed, right?
Yeah.
So you cannot afford yourself to make that behavior.
That's correct.
Right. We want to speak about your favorite books because the people who are watching us, they like to know what you're reading, what are your favorite books, what you learn from them, just the basic top 5. Do you have something like where you're really fascinated and you say, wow, that's book really like, I get a lot of mental thinking through.
Yeah, well, one book I really enjoyed last year was 100 to 1 in the stock market.
Yeah, I see you already get
it was written by Thomas Phelps,
Alright.
and the book was written 50 years ago.
So it's not a fresh new
1972,
Right.
and it is timeless. So after 50 years, the writing still feels fresh.
Oh, really? Have to buy that.
The examples don't feel stale, and he was not an investor; he was a journalist.
Right.
And he was a journalist. He used to write for Barron's and so on.
Right.
I think his investigative journalistic skills were very good, and I think his writing skills were very good. So I think that book, and he points out, you know, this wide range of companies which basically you held them to 1972, you made 100 times or more on your money.
Yeah.
In some cases, you made it in 3 years.
Yeah.
In some cases, you made it in 30 years or 40 years,
Yeah.
but it all worked.
Yeah.
And that was great. A book I'm reading now that I just finished it. I enjoyed it. It's called the CEO Factory. The CEO Factory. Yeah. So it's an Indian author. His name is Sitapal. I actually just met the guy at a dinner in Mumbai, and so there's a subsidiary of Unilever in India called Hindustan Unilever. Okay, and the alumni of Hindustan Unilever have gone on to become very successful CEOs in a number of companies in India and around the world. Okay, and so Hindustan Unilever has compounded their stock price at something like 16% a year for 60 years. Okay, and it's huge, and their return on capital is like 90%. So it's an extremely well-run business, and he explained kind of why the people in Unilever, Hindustan Unilever, are so unusual. The company really cross-trains them really well, and so I just enjoyed that book. I think it was wonderful, and I'm trying to think if there were other books I read recently. I'll think about it. That excited me.
How often do you speak with Charlie on Zoom? Because I know that sometimes you guys are speaking with each other, right? He was.
Charlie is a big
Charlie.
fan. Charlie is a big fan of Zoom.
Yeah, I know.
He
right?
has given up.
It's much better than
So
Buffett.
Warren
Yeah.
Warren hates Zoom.
I know.
He likes to use the phone.
Yeah.
Charlie no longer has interest in the phone. He
Very
likes Zoom.
progressive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Charlie is that I am very cognizant of the fact that his time is very valuable,
Of course.
and I don't try to bother him.
No.
And so I think we've spoken on Zoom twice,
Okay.
and both times have been at